Okay, so what I'm going over is the problem on slide 68 of the slide deck, um, which was part of classwork today. Just want to make sure everybody got the steps correctly. So the mats A and mats B are equal to each other. What we're dealing with right now are equations and solving for equations. So we've gone over how to solve the equation and also how to record our steps. So in this problem, it says that Aiden and Jean were using algebra tiles to solve. Then Aiden was called away, so we want to help Jean figure out what the missing pieces are. We always start with the original equation, which is this, right? This expression equals this expression. The next step is given to us. We have a clue here. It says to use the distributive property. So I'm going to look at both mat A and mat B and look for where there could be some distribution. So distributive property means that you have some number being multiplied by a group of numbers. So a number outside of a parentheses and terms on the inside. So let's look. I see some parentheses. I see parentheses here, but I don't see a number outside of it. So that means that there's no multiplication, no distribution that needs to happen. Same here. I see some parentheses, but there's nothing on the outside to tell me that I need to multiply. In fact, when we don't see anything on the outside, we just assume it's 1. So I'm saying here, one group of -6. Again, nothing outside the parentheses, so I'm just saying one group of -3x. More parentheses. Oh, I see that there's something outside this parentheses, which means that it's telling me there's two groups of 2x plus 1. So here is where the distribution needs to happen. We need to multiply 2 by the quantity on the inside of the parentheses. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. I'm saying two groups of 2x. That's going to give me 4x's. We just want to keep everything underneath the previous step. I'm saying two groups of 1. So then that's 2 1s is 2. Okay, I've used my distributive property. Everything else can just stay the same. So I'm going to bring everything down. 2x plus 4x plus 2, which is what we distributed, and then plus -3x plus -6. Okay? On the other side, again, there's no distribution, but while we're here on this step, let's go ahead and combine some terms that we can automatically get rid of. 3 plus -3, that's a 0 pair. So let's go ahead and combine that and just make it a 0 so I don't have to rewrite everything. Okay, plus x plus 8. We're just bringing everything down as we go. Okay, the next step. We don't have the next step written for us, but we can look and see on our previous line all of these terms, 2x, 4x, 2, -3x, and -6, have been simplified into 3x plus -4. So what is something that we've learned that we can do to make that simpler so we don't have to write it all down again? Well, let's look at all the terms that are alike. All the x's, 2x plus 4x plus -3x. 2x plus 4x is 6x. 6x plus -3x is going to give us 3x's. Over here, The x's combine. We have 4x and just x. So 4x plus 1x is 5x. Those are all the x's. Now let's look at all the ones. Looking at the ones that have 2 ones here and 6 negatives here. Combine those together, you get 4 negatives, -4. Here, a 0 plus 8 is just 8. Right? 0 plus 8 is just 8. So that step we call combine like terms. We're combining all the terms that have the same variable term. Combine like terms. They have to look alike. They have to have the same shape. All right, step 3. Again, clue, it's telling us to subtract 3x from both sides. So let's go ahead and do that. Subtract 3x from both sides. When I subtract 3x from both sides, what happens to my x terms? I subtract 3x on both sides. So in these 2 blanks, we're just going to simplify. 3x minus 3 is 0. Plus -4 is just -4. 5x minus 3x, that's going to give me 2 x's. Nothing happens to our 8, so let's just put plus 8. This is 0. That becomes 2x. We have 8. All right, so from here to here, what's the step that happens on both sides? Always want to do something to both sides. What happens? Well, I see that I have my 2 x's still there, but I'm missing my 8 ones. So I can conclude that I subtracted 8 on both sides. Whatever you do on one side, you have to do on the other. Let me use a different color there. -8, -8. Okay? So subtract 8 on both sides. Okay? When you simplify that, 8 minus 8 is 0. What you're left with is 2x. -4 minus 8. If you think about that, you have 4 negatives. I'm just going to draw it right here. 4 negatives. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 8 negatives. Let me use green. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So all together, you have 12 negatives. Yeah, 12 negatives. All right, last step. It says divide both sides. Divide both sides by 2. So that's what we're going to do. Divide both sides by 2. 2 divided by 2 gives me 1x. -12 divided by 2 gives me -6. And let's put a reason why we want to divide by 2. The reason why we want to divide by 2 is so that we can see what 1x equals, because we want 1x by itself. So however many x's you have, you could have 3 x's, you could have 5 x's, you could have 10 x's. However many x's you have on one side, that's how many you want to divide by, because you want to get 1x. 1x. So if I were to go like this, and using algebra tiles, if I use the x tile and the x tile, I'm splitting those 2 x's apart, so I only have 1x by itself. I'm splitting these x's apart, then I have to split the 12 negatives apart. So essentially you're splitting into two groups. You want two groups because you want to see what one x is. So let's just rewrite, well, here's the 12 x's up here. So if I split those 12 negatives into two groups, then we have -6 in each group.